Without any ado, I will get started in relation to a subject matter which has been debated a lot, as we know. There's been huge discussion around, down through the years, for years and years and years, about leadership, about leaders, about who is a leader, who's not a leader, what is leadership, what are the ingredients, what makes up a leader. And sometimes there's conclusions and sometimes there isn't conclusions, because everybody has their own ideas as to what makes a good leader and who is a leader. But I think what we do find is that there are some common strands when we look at leadership and talk about leaders. And I suppose when who is a leader, you can look at CEOs, you can look at principals in schools, presidents in colleges, secretary generals, and you can say, well, they're leaders. So is it that we think a leader is somebody that's in a position of influence or a position of authority or power? And what type? You know, we've good leaders, we've poor leaders, we've average leaders. You know, we could say Hitler was a leader. Was he a good leader? You know, was Bill Clinton? What was he? What sort of a leader was he? I'm sure there are lots of examples that you have yourself. I mean, Seth Coe very recently ran the Olympics in London, the most successful Olympics were ever run. What do you consider? Where do you consider he lies? Is he a leader? So, who's a leader? As Catherine said then, we're all leaders. And rather than leaders and leadership in itself, I think what we want to really think about is those who lead. And it's those who lead rather than leaders. And I think when you begin to talk about those who lead, you begin then to open up the space. And suddenly, not the CEOs necessarily, and not the Secretary Generals, and not the Presidents, etc., but it is those who lead, and that can indeed be anybody, I believe. And I remember, because I was the CEO of the World Special Olympic Games that were held in Ireland in 2003, and when the Games were over, we had led an incredible team of 300 staff and 30,000 volunteers altogether, and catered for all the various different countries and people that came in at the time. I remember getting, at the end of it all, from my own team, a picture of myself with Nelson Mandela, which was absolutely fantastic and inspirational in itself, to have the opportunity indeed to meet and spend some time with Nelson Mandela. But underneath the picture was a quote by the former president of the US, John Quincy Adams, and I'm sure you've heard this quote before, but it says, if your actions inspire others to do more, to become more, to be more, then you're a leader. Have you heard that before? Yeah. I'm sure you have. Lots of people have heard it. So it's simple though. It's something that I've always remembered, because in its simplicity, to me, it absolutely defines those who lead. So it's if your actions, so if what you do every day, if you inspire others to do more, to be more, to become more, then you are a leader. And that's where it really opens out then into the student in school who decides they'd like the students to be more involved in school and decides to set up a student council. And that student goes off, has that idea, brings the group together, sticks with it, gets it done, achieves what he or she wants to achieve. Is that person a leader? What do you think? Yeah, absolutely. My daughter, Emma, who gives blood, she just heard something on the radio one day and decided, yes, I want to do something about that. Went in, started to give blood. Suddenly she's telling all her friends what she's done, where she's been, and now she's got other people going in. Then she gets on to us in the family, and suddenly we're all going in now, giving blood. So is she a leader? There's simple ways, I think, that you can be a leader, and you can influence, and you can change. Or another example is the father of an under 10-year-old, and the squad was going to football training, and his child wasn't picked for the team, and there was no team for the child to play in. And he got together with a lot of other disappointed dads and children and said, well, why don't we set up our own team with all the kids that weren't picked? And he got one person to do transport, somebody else to do gear, somebody else to do something else. And suddenly they have a team that continued for years and years afterwards. So there's another example of how we're all leaders. So it is really about taking action that inspires others. And it's what I call that sort of leadership is leadership by example. And you can look at many possibilities of where there has been leadership by example. Entrepreneurs, McDara talked about a little bit about entrepreneurs. We have some social entrepreneurs, Tony here today, who saw something, who saw a need in the market. And whether it's commercial entrepreneurialism or social entrepreneurialism, it's people who see a need and instead of looking into the dark and cursing the dark, actually get up and do something about it and have that vision and stick with it and see it through until they have achieved whatever it is that they want to achieve. And again, there are various examples of that. In the commercial world, you see somebody like Moya Doherty. Riverdance, simple concept, saw it in a smaller form and just had this vision and decided she could do something with it, gathered the people around, got it done, went ahead. You know, I'm sure there are lots of people that you'll be able to tell us when we come to the discussion of examples of people that have done that. In my own organisation, Eunice Kennedy Shriver saw a need, lived with her sister, saw the obstacles she was facing, the lack of opportunity, the stigma, all the various things, and decided, I want to make something happen, I want to make change happen, and set about and started to do it. These are people that lead by example. And I suppose the question then is, going back to my quote, is how do you inspire people? How do you inspire people to do more and to be more? Because we follow people, generally speaking, not because we have to, but because we want to. You may do the work for the CEO because you have to, because it's your job and you get paid for it. But how do you get people to do something that they may never get paid for? And we had thousands of volunteers who worked for us, as I said to you earlier, in the 2003 World Games, and that still work and give of their time to Special Olympics. And we have companies that come to us and say, how come you're getting our employees to work harder for you than they do for us? And we don't give them anything. They do it because they want to do it. They're there because it's their choice and they want to. And there's some work written on this by a guy called Simon Sinek. Sinek, an interesting surname, isn't it, for somebody talking about leadership and motivation. Have any of you seen any of his stuff? Anybody? No. Interesting. Google him. Did you like that? Why didn't I say Yahoo him? Maybe you'll tell us that reason, Simon. Interesting, isn't it? But anyway, Google him and find out. But he has devised something called the Golden Circle. And it's really got sort of 3 circles. And inside you have the why, and on the next one you have the how, and on the next one you have the what. Have you seen that? I see people nodding. Yeah, so now you do. Now it's just the name maybe you didn't recognize. Okay, have you seen his TED Talk? It's very good, isn't it? It's great. So, if you haven't, do Google him and watch it. It is very good. So we have the what, the how, and the why. And it's the why, he says, that get people out of bed in the morning. It's the why that get people to do things. It's not the what. And if you can convince people the why, then you will get people to follow you. And he gives various different examples. But I can give you a few simple examples. Special Olympics, I'll give you that example. If I came in here to you and said, I'm Mary Davis. I work with Special Olympics. It's an organisation for people with an intellectual disability. It exists in 200 countries. We have 30 sports, blah, 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 blah. You get the message. Or if I come in and say, do you know that there are millions of people worldwide that are institutionalised, that are marginalised, that are excluded? What I do is bring them into society, get them involved, make them feel worthwhile, you know, on and on and on and on. You see the difference. You're going to buy into what I said, I'm sure. If I were to ask you, you're going to buy in to the second speech that I give you rather than the first one. And the first one is the what it is. What is Special Olympics? The real one is why I do it. Why do I do what I do in Special Olympics? And it's convincing you then and getting you to want to do it with me, to come with me. And I think that's what's important in people that lead. Another example is the late President Kennedy when he visited NASA. He met the janitor. He was walking around. He met various different people. And he met the janitor and he said, oh, hey, what do you do around here? And the janitor said, I help put people on the moon. Again, it's why, what is it he does? He's not a janitor, he's not just picking up pieces of paper there. What he does, his job, is valued. And that is really, really important as well. As leaders, that we involve everybody that we work with. We make them see the value of what they do, whether it's picking up rubbish, whether it's making sandwiches for the team, whether it's washing the gear, whatever it is, we contribute to the ultimate goal and that big picture and that vision. And that's important, I believe, to bring people along with us. P&G, I think, do a great job in the commercial world, if you look at it. I'm sure, again, Simon will give you examples of Google and what they do. I'm sure you must have seen some of the ads watching TV during the Olympics. You would have seen the I am proud mum ads. Like, you could say, what's that got to do with washing powder and selling washing powder? But of course it has everything to do with it, because it's the why. And that's what tugs at people's emotions. And that's what really gets people excited and want to be on the inside rather than the outside. Apple and Google are other examples, but when you go into the Simon TED Talk, you'll see the examples that he gives of Apple and why Apple. Why Apple as opposed to any other product that says the same thing? And why do people queue up when Apple comes out? Again, I believe it's the why. Obama is another great test case at the moment in terms of leadership, isn't he? I mean, when you think about it, 2008, the vision he created, the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people he packed into every venue he went to, because people wanted to be there. Why did they want to hear him? Why did they want to hear him? Because he was giving them inspiration and hope, and was talking about why all the time.
So what happened, we could say? Where's our
theory gone? What happened then? As the years went on, in 2010, when he was halfway through,
people were feeling that they had been let down,
somewhat let down.
The reality
wasn't quite the same as the visions that they had got in 2008.
And of course, that's one of the difficulties. There are tons of obstacles
along the way in you trying to achieve your vision.
What do they say when you're up to your neck?
What do they say when you're up to your neck in alligators? It's hard to remember that your first job was to clear the swamp.
And clear the swamp you must.
And clear the swamp you must.
It's very difficult.
But sometimes it's very difficult to do that. Because there are so many alligators biting you. And for him, whether it was tax, whether it was war, whether it was Medicare, whether it was
threats like Bin Laden,
whatever it was. whatever it was,
losing
the House of Representatives,
all of those were major,
all of those were major things.
They were stopping him being inspirational.
They were stopping him being inspirational.
Because he was caught up in
because he was caught up in the details. Paralysed probably by analysis, because that's some of the things that people were saying about
so
him.
what happened? Did he get an, and I don't know, I don't
have the answer. Maybe one of you might have.
You know, he was so busy, I think, with the detail. He was so busy, I think, with the detail at that stage. He was forgetting about the big picture. He was forgetting about what he started out to do, how he was laying out that vision and how he was inspiring. I actually think he has learned a huge amount. And if you did anybody listen to his victory speech, you couldn't but see the inspiration
coming out from that. The whys. It was why all the time. They wanted the poor person's child in Alabama or wherever. If they wanted to be a doctor or a scientist, then America was the country they were going to be, and they could do it, and he was going to
giving all that hope.
So he was giving all that hope.
And he said,
you have made me a better president.
And I'll be surprised.
And I'll be surprised if we don't see him
coming out more out of the detail,
expressing himself more in the big picture inspirational way that he did, and that he did to inspire so many people.
And I am
in 2008. And I am delighted by the way that he is back.
And I think he can,
the president, and I think he can and will.
I know I'm coming close to the end of my time.
of my time, so I could go on and on about the subject. I'm fascinated by the whole area of leadership and the things that you need.
I want to leave you
with is that why. Just think about that. And the other thing is that I think
along with that,
to have the capacity to communicate.
That is important.
I think that is important to show leadership and
tell them, talk to them,
talk to them all the time.
And that's where Obama could have done
We've criticised our own leaders. We've criticised our own leaders in the past for not doing that. If only we'd known, only they'd told us more about what the state of the country, maybe we could have taken it bad and all it is. Because of course there's going to be bad times. Of course there's going to be obstacles for everybody, for every single one of you as you go through your life. But it's how you manage them, how you get over all those obstacles. That's what's going to make you better and stand out over and above.
Of course we all fail.
And of course we all
But it's not so much about the failures.
But it's not so much about the failures.
And life's work is not about
It's about how you
pick yourself up.
It's about how you pick yourself up every time.
I'm going to show you a very short DVD.
I'm going to show you a very short DVD
It's
now.
just
very short. It's just some words,
some
actually.
strong music.
Put to some strong music, so I hope that we get the words with the music.
They're just a reminder.
They're just a reminder
of some of the things I said to you.
But also, think it'll just
charge your own energy.
Charge your own energy in terms of how you might do things differently in your lives. Thank you.
Agree that was a very inspiring way to begin our proceedings today, and we're all very grateful for your input.